Foreign language skills. Intermediate. Module 12. Getting success. 12.1.
How important is success to you? What is success? I suppose it's different things to different people. For me, success is having good friends, a loving family, and doing well in my job. For other people, success only means being the best in the world. If a sports star comes second in the World Championship, they feel they are not a success. I have successes every day, especially at work or in my hobbies. If I learn a new piece of software, that's a success, and I'm happy. Recently, I have had many successes in the kitchen. I love cooking, so every time someone likes my food, I feel it's a success. I really wish my football team would be more successful. They're always on the brink of success, but then fail.
12.2.
This is BreakingNewsEnglish.com. Leaving a tip in a restaurant is a part of life in many countries. We tip a waiter or someone in a hotel. We might put a tip in a jar next to a cash register. There is now a new way to tip: self-checkout machines. People are not happy about them. Some of these machines are asking for a 20% tip. They are in airports, cafes, bookstores and clothes stores in the USA. There is no face-to-face contact between people. Many customers in stores say they are not happy about leaving a tip and giving extra money to a machine. The Wall Street Journal said people in the USA are becoming tired of tipping the self-checkout machines. Many people are experiencing tipping fatigue. Nearly 20% of people are now leaving tips for things they never used to leave tips for, like bottles of water. A customer at an airport store said self-checkout machines asking for a tip was like emotional blackmail. A digital payments company said the machines are increasing the number of tips. It said Americans are leaving 15% more tips than before.
12.3.
Could I borrow a few bucks until payday? I'm a little strapped for cash.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm pinching pennies myself, and you still owe me $20 from last week. And Mom and your friend Ron said that you borrowed money from them this past week.
Oh, yeah.
And how are things going anyway?
Well, not very well. To be honest, I'm really in a hole, and I can't seem to make ends meet these days.
What do you mean? I thought you'd landed a great job recently, so you must be loaded.
Well, I do have a job, but I've used my credit cards to pay off a lot of things recently. But now I can't seem to pay the money off.
Do you have a budget? I mean, how do you keep track of your income and expenses?
Well, when my money runs out, I come to you, of course.
Great.
No, but I guess I should have some financial plan.
Well, let's see if I can help you. How much money do you spend on your apartment?
I pay $890 on rent for the studio apartment downtown, not including utilities and cable TV, but the place has an awesome view of the city.
$890? Why are you paying through the nose for such a small place when you could find a cheaper one somewhere outside of the downtown area?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. How much money do you spend on food a month?
Well, I'm not really sure. I think I spend about $600.
$600?
Well, I go out to eat at least 4 times a week, so the expenses add up. I just don't enjoy eating alone, and I don't have a knack for cooking like you do.
Well, I can understand that, but perhaps you ought to buy some microwavable meals you could just prepare at home.
Well, I guess I could.
And entertainment?
Well, I spend a few dollars here and there on basketball and movie tickets, a concert or two, and ballroom dance lessons.
Exactly how much do you spend on all of these? Just a few dollars?
Well, about $400 or so.
Or so? No wonder you're having money problems. You just can't blow your money on things like that. And what about transportation?
Well, I commute to work every day in my new sports car, but I got a great deal and my monthly payments are only $450 a month. Come outside and take a look. We can go for a spin.
No, I've heard enough. You've got to curb your spending or you'll end up broke. I suggest you get rid of your credit cards, cut back on your entertainment expenses, and sell your car. Take public transportation from now on.
Sell my car? I can't date without a car. What am I gonna say? Could you meet me downtown at the bus stop at 7? Come on!
And you need to create a budget for yourself and stick to it. And start with paying off your bills, starting with me. You owe me $50.
$50? Wait, I only borrowed $20 from you last week. How did you come up with 50?
Financial consulting fees. My advice is at least worth 30.
12.4.
A businessman who sells bottled water is now the richest man in China. The business magazine Bloomberg named Mr. Zhong Shanshan as China's richest man in its latest Billionaires Index. The magazine said Mr. Zhong is worth over $58 billion. This makes him $2 billion richer than the previous number one, Jack Ma. Mr. Ma founded the retail internet giant Alibaba. Mr. Zhong made his wealth from his Nongfu Spring bottled water company. He then branched out into making vaccines. He is the chairman of a vaccine manufacturer called the Beijing Wantai Biological Pharmacy. Mr. Zhong is now 17th on the global rich list. It seems that he will move up that list in the future. Zhong Shanshan, 66, was a construction worker before he got into business. He started his Nongfu Spring company in 1996. This was just as China's market for bottled water was emerging. Bottled water is now a huge industry in China. Most people who live in China prefer drinking bottled water to tap water for health reasons. They prefer not to trust tap water. Zhong's pharmaceutical company is also helping in the fight against COVID-19. It is developing a nasal spray vaccine with the help of researchers from a top university. Chinese media call Mr. Zhong a lone wolf because he is rarely seen in public. He rarely gives interviews and he likes to keep himself to himself.
12.5.
Failure happens to everyone. You are going to fail at some point. That's the reality of entrepreneurship. If you go through life thinking that you won't fail, then it will only hit you twice as hard as you do. If you know failure can be lurking around every corner, though, you can respond more quickly when it happens and make adjustments to correct the problem. If you think failure isn't a possibility, it will take you much longer to respond and adjust. This can lead to multiple negative issues piling up on your back, eventually crippling your forward momentum. Failure is an opportunity to learn. Failure can teach us a lot. Everything leading up to failure is a lesson, the choices you made at the time, the reasoning behind your decisions, and so on. If you have the right mindset, you can dissect the failure and learn from it. Overcoming challenges promotes strength. Seeing failure as a challenge rather than a personal shortcoming can be immensely helpful to entrepreneurs during their journey. Every failure you encounter is an obstacle to overcome, and successful entrepreneurs navigate around several until finally making it. When you are no longer scared of failure, you have less to hold you back when go after your dreams and goals. We encounter scary situations daily, and the sooner you eliminate fear from your thought process, the sooner you will be able to go after your goals with 100% focus. A good example of a company that nearly failed, but came back stronger in the end, is Apple and its decision to oust Steve Jobs in 1985. There's some debate whether removing Jobs caused the stagnant sales for the next 10 years, but nobody can deny that when they brought him back 12 years later, sales improved. Now, several years later, thanks to Jobs' creativity and marketing charisma, Apple is a household name, and its brand has some of the most sought-after technology products in the world. The only way you will know your limits is to explore them. Failures teach you what you can and cannot do. Knowing this helps you accurately plan for the future and work toward your goals. Personally, I have failed several times, and I would never be where I am today if I let a single failure stop me or get in the way of my goals. Instead, I embrace them and use them as a learning experience as well as motivation.
12.6.
Can you imagine being a billionaire at the age of 21? entrepreneur, social media star and model Kylie Jenner has done just that. According to the business magazine Forbes, Ms. Jenner has become the world's youngest self-made billionaire. She is so successful that she became a billionaire 2 years younger than Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. Jenner is the youngest sibling in the Kardashian family. She made the bulk of her fortune from her best-selling cosmetics business, Kylie Cosmetics, which she started at the age of 15. She founded and owns the beauty company. It now generates an estimated $360 million in annual sales. Her company is estimated to be worth around $900 million. Kylie Kristen Jenner was born in August 1997. She got into business at a young age. When she was 14, she created a line of clothing for a fashion brand. A year later, she launched her own cosmetics line called Kylie Lip Kits, which transformed into Kylie Cosmetics. Time magazine listed her as one of the most influential teens in the world. Today, Ms. Jenner also has successful careers as a model, TV reality star, and social media personality. In November 2018, the New York Post said she was the most influential celebrity in the fashion industry. Talking about her billionaire status, she said, "That's a nice pat on the back. I didn't expect anything. I did not foresee the future. I work really hard."
12.7.
On Star Students today, we are speaking to Peter, who is going to tell us about the Pomodoro technique, a system to help manage your time. It was invented by an Italian man called Francesco Cirillo in the 1980s. Now, he called it the Pomodoro technique after a tomato-shaped timer that his mother used to use when she was cooking. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. And this tomato has helped Peter become an A-grade student. So, Peter, welcome to the studio.
Thanks.
Tell us about the Pomodoro technique. What's it about?
It's about getting maximum productivity from your available time. I use it for studying, but professionals use it at work.
Is it difficult to follow?
No, it's actually very simple. It's about breaking down your work into separate jobs, and then using a timer to separate your time into periods of intensive work and short breaks.
OK, well that sounds sensible. So how do you start?
First of all, you should think about the task you need to complete. For example, writing an essay for homework. You need to think about all the stages of the task and write a clear to-do list on a piece of paper. When you are ready to start, you set the timer to 25 minutes and you start working on the first item on the list.
OK, but what happens when the timer goes off?
When the timer goes off, you must take a short break of between 3 to 5 minutes. One 25-minute session is one Pomodoro. So when you have completed this, you deserve a short break. You should try to move about a bit during the break. Then set the timer for another 25 minutes and keep working. At the end of the next Pomodoro, you have another short break. As you complete the items on the to-do list, you should tick them off to give you a feeling of satisfaction that you're getting the job done.
OK, I get it. Can you use any timer? Most people have timers on their phones these days. Could you use that?
You could, but the danger is that then you can check messages on your phone, or you start looking at apps. I use my dad's kitchen timer, and I make sure I switch off my phone when I'm studying. I get so much more done. In the breaks, I sometimes check my phone, but only if I've completed some of the items on my to-do list.
Well, 3 to 5 minutes isn't long for a break. Is that enough time?
Well, when you've had 4 or 5 short breaks, you can take a longer break, and then you start again.
And it works?
Yes, it works for me. It stops me wasting time. My work is much more effective when I use the timer. It's like short, intense periods of work. I actually get my homework done a lot quicker now, which leaves me more free time. So, for me, it works really well.
Well, I think I'll give it a try. Thanks so much for coming in, Peter.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
12.8.
Hello, I'm Brian Tracy, and I'm always being asked, what are the habits of successful people? What is it that successful people do habitually every single day that leads to them being in the top 20% of money earners in our society? Well, Aristotle said that 95% of everything you do is the result of habit. So the rule is form good habits and make them your masters, rather than allowing bad habits to form. In fact, the other rule says this, is that good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with. Now, one of the turning points in my life and my studies of psychology was the discovery that all habits are learned and can be unlearned. Actually, you don't actually unlearn a habit. You simply replace a bad habit with a good habit that has more power and impact. And how do you develop a good habit? You develop a habit by repetition. Almost everything you do from the time you get up in the morning is habit. So start to think about yourself. What would be the best habits to have? Now, I have written a book called $1 Million Habits. It has 12 chapters, 12 critical areas of life. And in each chapter, there's 20 or 30 habits. So let me give you some of the best. Number one, develop the habit of daily goal setting and goal orientation. What does this mean? It means when you go to sleep at night, think about your goals for the coming day. Make a list for each day of all the goals, the little goals you're going to accomplish that day. Keep a journal and write down your goals on a regular basis. When you're driving through the day, think about your goals. When you're talking to other people, think about your goals. You see, you do become what you think about most of the time. You do achieve what you think about most of the time. So all successful people and all wealthy people think about their goals most of the time. Second of all, be results-oriented. Now, results-oriented people are always thinking of the most important things that they can do right now to achieve their most important results. Successful people make a list of everything they have to do, and before they start working, they set priorities on the list. Here's a great way to become result-oriented. Actually, it's life-changing. Ask yourself, once you have your list for the day, if I could only do one thing on this list before I was called out of town for a month, what one activity would I want to be sure to get completed? And put a circle around that and start on that activity immediately, first thing, and then discipline yourself to work nonstop until you complete that one activity. This simple technique has taken people from rags to riches all over the world for at least 100 years. Pick your most important task and start on it immediately, and then discipline yourself to stay with it until it's complete. Another habit that you can establish is to become people-oriented. Recognize that everything that you achieve in life is going to be with the help or support or cooperation of other people. So always think, what is it that other people want and need from me? How can I help other people so they'll want to help me back? If you're in sales, top salespeople think about their customers all the time. They think about who their customers are and what their customers want and how they can help them the most and how they can help them even more today. In their relationships, successful people are very focused on the most important people in their worlds, both personal and in business. Another habit you can have is to stay health-oriented. Think about your health most of the time. Think about eating less food and better food. Think about daily exercise. Think about getting lots of rest. Remember, to be successful in our competitive world, you need a lot of energy. To have a lot of energy, you've got to eat good foods, get lots of rest, and exercise all the time.
12.9.
The thing that will keep you going through the hard times is the fact that you really believe in what you're doing. So my first tip is find your passion. Mumstep took a really long time to sort of take off in any business sense. In those days it was all about young guys being invested in by young guys, and here was I turning up, a 30-year-old mum, probably with some vomit on my shoulder. And I remember one guy said, I will invest in your business, but only if someone else runs it. And in fact, that someone was a 24-year-old man. So I turned down his investment. But actually, you know, when you really believe in something, that's what will keep you going through the low moments. So choose something you have a real passion about, because otherwise I think it's too easy to give up. My second tip is to make mistakes. In fact, Mumsnet was born out of a mistaken holiday. It was my first holiday with kids. I knew nothing about it, and I picked the wrong destination, the wrong time zone, the wrong resort, and it was an unmitigated disaster. And that was where the light bulb moment for Mumsnet came. Often the things that go wrong can be the prompts for what you can do right. So my next tip is to wear trainers. I think it's a brilliant way to fit in exercise without going to the gym, and it's a brilliant way to catch up if you're running late. I mean, there's also another part of this. So don't feel as a woman in business you have to, spend hours on your appearance. Let's face it, Mark Zuckerberg wears the same t-shirt and jeans every day, and why should women have a disadvantage? And my final tip is to embrace the chaos. I think it's almost impossible to fit in everything you want to if you're trying to start your own business and you want to raise a family. You have to embrace the fact that you cannot be perfect. But more importantly, I think it's about not feeling guilty about stuff. So my fourth child, I cycled to his nursery with him in a seat on the back, and he started singing this lovely little tune to me. He sang, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, mum. Mummy, mummy, don't go to work." And quite frankly, if that had been my first children, I would have probably been, in tears on the pavement. But, you do get a bit wiser. Your kids will be fine, and having guilt is a wasted emotion. I think the thing that makes me get up in the morning 18 years on and love coming and doing what I do is I really quite like finding solutions to things. Being able to come to work and collectively with a group of great people grapple with stuff and try and find a solution is something I find fascinating. And it's what keeps me going, really.
12.10.
Why do so many people reach success and then fail? Well, one of the big reasons is we think success is a one-way street. So we do everything that leads up to success, but then we get there, we figure we made it, we sit back in our comfort zone, and we actually stop doing everything that made us successful. And it doesn't take long to go downhill. And I can tell you this happens because it happened to me. Reaching success, I worked hard, I pushed myself, but then I stopped because I figured, I've made it. I can just sit back and relax. Reaching success, I always tried to improve and do good work, but then I stopped because I figured, hey, I'm good enough. I don't need to improve anymore. Reaching success, I was pretty good at coming up with good ideas because I did all these simple things that lead to ideas. But then I stopped because I figured I was this hotshot guy and I shouldn't have to work at ideas. They should just come like magic. And the only thing that came was creative block. I couldn't come up with any ideas. Reaching success, I always focused on clients and projects and ignored the money. But then all this money started pouring in, and I got distracted by it. And suddenly I was on the phone to my stockbroker and my real estate agent when I should have been talking to my clients. And reaching success, I always did what I loved. But then I got into stuff I didn't love, like management. I'm the world's worst manager, but I figured I should be doing it because I was, after all, the president of the company. Well, soon a black cloud formed over my head, and here I was, outwardly very successful, but inwardly very depressed. But I'm a guy. I knew how to fix it. I bought a fast car. It didn't help. I was faster, but just as depressed. So I went to my doctor. I said, "Doc, I can buy anything I want, but I'm not happy. I'm depressed. It's true what they say, and I didn't believe it until it happened to me, but money can't buy happiness." He said, "No, but it can buy Prozac." And he put me on antidepressants. And yeah, the black cloud faded a little bit, but so did all the work, because I was just floating along. I couldn't care less if clients ever called. And clients didn't call, because they could see I was no longer serving them, I was only serving myself. So they took their money and their projects to others who would serve them better. Well, it didn't take long for business to drop like a rock. My partner and I, Tom, we had to let all our employees go. It was down to just the two of us, and we were about to go under. And that was great, because with no employees, there was nobody for me to manage. So I went back to doing the projects I loved. I had fun again, I worked harder, and to cut a long story short, did all the things that took me back up to success, but it wasn't a quick trip. It took 7 years. But in the end, business grew bigger than ever. And when I went back to following these 8 principles, the black cloud over my head disappeared altogether. And I woke up one day and I said, I don't need Prozac anymore. And I threw it away and haven't needed it since. I learned that success isn't a one-way street. It doesn't look like this. It really looks more like this. It's a continuous journey. And if we want to avoid success to failure syndrome, we just keep following these 8 principles, because that's not only how we achieve success, it's how we sustain it. So here's to your continued success. Thank you very much.
Ooh.